What's up, everyone? It's Matt Mrozek, and this will be work in progress number 4 on the Industia Mechanika Black Moth build. And I'm continuing on with the base. The Black Moth kid himself is ready to paint. I actually put a little paint on him last night, but I'm not going to show you that until I kind of work on the base more. So what I did since the last video is I went ahead and I built up the sides of the base. And this is some plow plate, and I'll see if I can... I don't know the thickness. I threw the packaging away, but it's fairly thick, as you can see. And I simply just cut equal sides that were the same height all the way around. And I just used CA, really thick super glue. And I just glued on the edges, and then did the same on this side. And then I went in with some zip kicker, and I just kind of sprayed the corners and put in a nice bead of this thick CA, and it creates a fillet. And basically it's strengthens the joint. And this is pretty tough because I've been sanding on this and it hasn't fallen apart. And so after I did that, after I got the sides all on, I went ahead and block sanded the whole thing with some 320 sanding sponge, which I don't have in front of me, but it's a hard block that's a sanding sponge, just to kind of smooth it up for the most part. And the top was still a little uneven, so I went ahead and I put Bondo on, sanded that smooth, and then the last step was I put on 3 nice coats of Rust-Oleum filler sander primer. And excuse me, I'm just finalizing the sanding part right now, but now the thing is baby smooth, and it's gonna get ready for the next step, which I'll do here in just a second. But so right now I'm just sanding with the 3M sanding sponge, and this sandable primer, it says you can sand it after about 2 or 3 hours of drying. I tried that yesterday, but it started to gum up the paper pretty good. So I just went ahead and waited till today, and it sands really easy once it's dried all the way. So it's nice and smooth, and I don't care if I go through the primer right now because it's going to get another round of primer after my next few steps. This is just to get all, any inconsistency out of the gluing or little pits in there. If you remember, I had like a butt joint on top here, or that top laminate. That was what the Bondo took care of. And then even though I did my best to make the top edge even, it was a little uneven after sanding, so the Bondo just smoothed that all out. So there's a fine sanding sponge, and I'm not going to go any further with the sanding now because the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to start, I want to emulate steel plating on this. Basically, I think for now, I'm just going to do the sides. I may do around the edges. Again, this isn't like a realistic, my idea like he's on a walkway. It's not a realistic walkway because this would be, completely like pass through. So maybe it's like a platform of some sort. So maybe I will wrap the steel plating around the edges. So for that, I'm going to use my chisel set, which I have right here, and the handle. And I'll probably use the biggest chisel I have, which is not very big, to be honest. I think it's a 0.3 chisel right here. Yeah, it's a 0.3. And use this for scribing panel lines and stuff. Yeah, it's a 0.3. So we'll see if that's big enough. It may not be. We'll see. If that's not big enough, what I'll do is I'll break an X-Acto knife and use the back edge of that. So that's the top so far. I went ahead and kind of got all the, I guess, pipe work and plumbing in here, I guess is what you would call it. And I created, my idea for lighting this, and I don't want it like really bright light, is I've got these 2 clear acrylic rods in here, and I've sanded them because if you don't sand, the light will just go straight through the rod and won't bounce around. And so my plan is to, which I already kind of tested out, was this weird, this acrylic rod is not uniformly the same diameter all the way down. It's really weird. It tapered for some reason. So it's like each of these rods only fit in a specific hole. And it's quite a significant difference between the narrow end and the thick end. But it's a tight fit. So what I've done is I drilled a couple holes in here for LEDs. And I have some 3 millimeter LEDs, but they're not big enough. And they're not bright enough. So if I turn this light off here, I'm gonna go ahead and throw it back in the base because it's easier to do with, since I don't have anything really wired up. So, and I went ahead and sprayed the inside of the base with, I think it's burnt iron, and then the top is sprayed with steel. So basically I have my LED testers here, and you can see they're lighting up kind of. So the idea is, once this is all wired up, the LEDs will go on either side. I'll turn this off. And then when it's powered on, it'll light up that way. So I'll basically have 2 different color rods kind of underneath the grating. That's the plan. Like I said, I don't want it really bright in there. It's just to kind of give a sense of some sort of plumbing or something, but that looks kind of cool. I'm going to use 5mm LEDs. I don't have a hard time talking tonight. 5mm LEDs, and hopefully they'll be a little bit brighter, especially since the inside is going to be mostly black. I will go and paint some aluminum and maybe some colors on the other piece of piping, but so I'm going to probably do, I think maybe doing blue under there. I don't know if I want to do red, so probably blue, but that's kind of the idea there for the lighting underneath it. So with the 5mm, those will lighten up there pretty good. And then another thing what I'm going to do is I plan on doing is I think I'm going to maybe drill a few holes around the perimeter here and put some LEDs in. So I'll probably just use bare bulbs. I want the look of kind of like if you're like on a tarmac, you have this little itty bitty light that's just kind of raised on the surface. I may do just some on either side of this, just like a clear white, just to kind of give it some uplight. So, you know, it's not really realistic, but it's just to kind of give the sense of a place. So it's not like emulating anything in particular. Just to give the sense of maybe inside of a ship or inside of a vehicle of some sort. You know, it's really, again, it's not supposed to be representative of anything in particular. It's just to give a sense of space. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lay out some paneling, and there's no really rhyme or reason to this. So I'm just going to kind of, I think what I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw a center line. I got an adjustable square here. I'm going to draw a center line down this side. Let's see. And it looks like we're right at, what is that? It doesn't need to be centered. It just needs to be the same height. So I come in here and I'm going to just kind of eyeball it. Again, this is not really to scale it anything. I mean, he's 1/8 scale, but it doesn't mean that this has to be at a certain height. I'm going to make a mark there. I always forget what I do. Okay. And then I'm going to do another mark over here in the same spot. Like that. And then I should be able to use my square. If this is actually square. Who knows? When I was putting this together, I didn't use any type of jig or right angle, you know, things. I just eyeballed it. So we're gonna put this here on my 2 marks, and we're just gonna lay this out for now. Sorry about all the background noise. We got kids and animals and all sorts of stuff going on. Just like that. And so yeah, okay, now what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of, so that's like a center line. And now I'm just gonna, again, this is not really to any particular measurement, but I'm just gonna start drawing some lines. I think I want some relatively decent sized panels. Like that. And then we would have, of course, the seams would not line up, would not be very strong. If we did that. So I'm going to show you one side, and then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do all the way around, and I'll come back. Okay, kind of like this. Again, just random. This is not any particular size or anything. This is just me laying something out, again, to give the sense of space. So there we go. So we got kind of like a grid pattern. So now, what you do there, I actually could use my square still since it's on here. The way a chisel works, if you've never used it, is you drag it across your line. So So if I come here and just kind of hold it there as best I can, I'm going to take the chisel and actually use the back side of it. You drag it, and you just start out with a real light pass. I'm actually going to prop this against my paint rack here so I can kind of support it a little bit. And try to get this as straight as possible. Right about there. Again, I'm just going to lightly drag it. I'm not putting any pressure on. This is very sharp. I'm going to let the chisel do the work. I'm going to do several passes. There. So we scribed a line. And I may go a little bit deeper actually. I think we're going to because of the scale of this. Trick is not to have your ruler slip on you while you're doing it. Kind of wish I had a bigger chisel. I think this will be fine though for what I'm doing. Now I'm putting some pressure on it. Get that a little bit deeper. Alright, so there's one line. And it's pretty good. I could probably go in there and freehand it now that that groove is deep enough. Oops, I lied. See, I slipped there a little bit. If your groove's deep enough, you can the chisel will just sit in there and guide itself. Sometimes it's not working out so well right now. There we go. I want these fairly deep because I want it to take a wash really well. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to come in and do these other little lines I marked. Again, let me move my camera a little bit, maybe, so you can see better what I'm doing. So now that I have that nice deep groove, it'll actually act as a stop for this next line. It just wants to stop there naturally. Oops, and I messed up there a little bit. If you go past it, don't worry. I can fix that later. See, I went past it a little bit right there. It's okay, I'll sand out. Okay. Let's do this one. Actually, this is probably makes more sense to come this way. Start from my first scribe line and come out to the edge. That way there's no chance of me slipping past that line. See? I learn as I go, guys. I was like, how do you do that? How do you do that? It's like, this is how I do it. I do it and I figure out what works and doesn't work. Because most of the stuff I do, I'm learning on the fly. A good majority of it is. I don't have a formula for anything really. Even for the stuff I do all the time, painting wise, I really don't have a formula. About the only thing I have a formula for is my prep work that I follow all the time. Because that's the most important part of a build is the prep work. Another reason why I don't final sand the base, because as you can see, it's gonna get beat up pretty good just from handling it, from doing this process. Here I'm actually putting quite a bit of pressure on the chisel. Just making a nice deep line there. Getting there. I'm gonna go back on this first one I did, where I slipped a little bit. Alright, so that's one side. And these grooves are nice and deep, so I can kind of come in here again, freehand. And it shouldn't slip. I say that now, but who knows. Another reason why I chose this really thick plot plate, so I could come in here and do some really nice deep plating lines. Because the picture I have in my head is this kind of like a, you know, like a worn out steel plating, with weathering and stuff on it. Alright, so there's one side. I'm going to go ahead and pause this and I'll come back and show you when I'm done with the rest. Alright, I'm not done yet, but I decided that I've always got all these damn clamps. Why not clamp the ruler to the piece? And this is working much better than my hand. It's much more steady, and I can put a little more pressure on the piece without worrying about the ruler slipping. So, a little tip there, clamp your ruler down. Alright, there's the second side done. We're getting there. There's side 3 done. Okay, so we got all 4 sides scribed, and I got a little, my chisel kind of got away from me right here on this edge because the straight edge didn't have much material to grab onto, so it slipped. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fine sanding sponge again, and I'm just going to kind of give it another light sanding. Again, this will all get another round of primer, but this just kind of gets the you get kind of burrs from scribing lines, so this kind of gets rid of those, just right here. And more than likely, most of this primer will be taken off by the time I'm done with this step. Again, we're just going to come over here and kind of get rid of those burrs. Same on this, on all 4 sides. This also helps you check your work too. But now they're nice and, nice and smooth. You don't get this. You get a little kind of rough edge from the scribing process. This gets rid of that. Okay. So for now, that sanding sponges. I need to buy some more sanding sponges. I've been using the same sanding sponges for like 7 years now. I haven't bought any new sanding sponges. I bought 1 box of fine, 1 box of super fine, ultra fine, and micro fine. The micro fine and ultra fine I went through pretty quick. Those get used up pretty fast, especially considering I use those for wet sanding and stuff. But Yeah, I buy these by the box, and it's about $50 a box. But like I said, I've been using the same ones for. I haven't bought any new boxes in at least 7 years, maybe 8. So even though they seem kind of expensive at first, they will last you a very long time. You can use them wet. They get worn out a little quicker if you use them wet, but it's kind of getting clogged up a little bit. So I may have to. I don't want to do it wet because I've got wood, and even though it's primed, I don't want a chance getting any water on that wood and having it swell or do anything to me funny. So now what I need to do is really, this looks good. That one spot that I went really squirrely, I kind of need to fix that before I do the next step. I'm gonna see if I can sand it out. So all this stuff you're seeing me do is brand new to me. I've never done scratch building. I've never tried to recreate steel plating. This is all new. So if you ask me how I did it, and you just watch this video, or how I knew to do it, I didn't. I just figuring it out. Kind of like on the Captain America. I didn't know how to make mud or anything. I just figured it out. So I got this one spot here. This primer is clogging my. I'm gonna go one little bit of water. I'll be right back. Okay, so I got just a little additional water here. I'm just gonna use it very sparingly. Like I said, I don't want to get any water on this wood. What it does, it just keeps your sandpaper from clogging too much. Helps it cut a little bit better. So we're just going to keep sanding this. Hopefully we can get that a little mishap out there. It's actually kind of deep because I was pushing kind of hard on the chisel when I did it. Getting there. I don't care if I take all the primer off or not, because this is gonna get primed again. But wet sanding is very messy, by the way. When I wet sand a kit, man, my bench just looks like a gray swamp. I'm not sure that's going to sand out. I don't want the putty if I don't have to. This thing a little bit. I can just kind of concentrate on that area. There it goes. And now it's out. I was hitting it from the wrong way. And that's gone. Okay, cool. Sand it out. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to go in there and clean up these grooves with a toothbrush to get all that sanding stuff out. I don't know if I'm going to do steel plating on the top. I don't know. I just may make that one piece of plate metal. Again, this is not supposed to be a specific thing or place. It's just to represent a space. So. And this fine grit sanding sponge is equivalent to about, if you go to the 3M website, it says like 320 to 400. So it's a good like first step for sanding. Before the one I use the most of is I use the super fine a lot, and they say that's equivalent like to 600 to 700. And then the ultra fine is like an 800, and micro fine would be like 1,000. Like I said, those get clogged up really quick, and I tend to go through those pretty quick. But the super fine is like perfect right before your last coat of primer. I'll do super fine and then do my last round of primer and then paint. But the fine is perfect for this step. They do have a medium and a coarse. The medium is way too rough for what we do in modeling. It'd be good for woodworking, but not for this kind of stuff. You would go through plastic like crazy, and it leaves super deep scratches that you have to fill later. So okay, that's pretty good. And I said I wasn't gonna do it. I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna just wet sand this top a little bit. I concentrated my filler primer on the top because that's where I had all the Bondo work and stuff. And I want to make sure I filled any pinholes or anything I had. And it only took that one round of filler primer, 2 or 3 nice coats of it. The trick about the spray can filler primer, I learned this the hard way on my first Punisher, is you have to put 1 coat on fairly light, let that dry for 15 or 20 minutes, go back and do like a wet coat, let that dry for 15 or 20 minutes, and then you can do like a final 3rd coat. Pretty wet, and let that dry. If you do it too wet too fast, it'll crack where it collects, and I had a lot of cracking in my first Punisher, like in the grooves of the arms and stuff. So yeah, okay, so that's been wet sanded, and I'm going to clean off my bench and I'll get ready for the next step. All right, the next step, get my mic on, let's forget to put that on. The next step in this process is I want to create rivets, and not knowing how to do that, I asked the master of riveting, or the person who knows about just about everything about modeling, Michael Fichtenmeyer. And he said, gave me some suggestions, and after talking to him and looking on YouTube, I'm going to take the suggestion he used, or told me, and basically I'm going to use some 0.04 rod styrene. So this is round, or actually this is octagon styrene. So I can recreate like screw heads if I want. And then I got the same size and round. So I think for this, I'm going to do round. I think it makes more sense that these plates would be riveted in place and not screwed. So I get myself a brand new X-Acto blade. I've said this in a lot of my videos. If you're not using the X-Life blades, do yourself a favor and go on Amazon and order a couple boxes. Found out from Jason Eaton that these are what they used to use a long time ago. Then they switched them, and now you get the cheap ones. So you know they're X-Life because they have a blue tinge to them. These will last a lot longer, and they tend to be sharper. So after talking to Michael, and after he suggested what to use, I kind of did a YouTube search, and found a guy that did the exact same thing. And what I thought was clever is that he basically took a piece of tape like this. So it's pretty clever because these things are gonna be tiny. And he laid it down like this, and then he took his styrene and then he taped it down. And what this does, it keeps your little itty bitty rivets from flying around everywhere because they are going to be super tiny. So he did this, and then he put a ruler down. Oops, yeah, I'm still recording. Put a ruler down like this. Not that I'm going to use a ruler because these will still be too tall. Actually, I need to bring this closer to me because I can't see what I'm doing. I'm bringing it right here. I'll point the camera down. Try to get that shine off of it. Oops, take the styrene down. Sorry about the weird angle. And I'm just going to tape this down. Just like that. And then it's pretty simple. Actually, just going to go in here. I'm going to use a optivisor so I can see what the heck I'm doing. Actually, I'm going to move the light over here, guys. Sorry about the bright spot, but it's kind of where I have to have it. Basically, you just go in here and you're going to cut little tiny little discs. A lot of them. I'm trying to get them semi the same height. After I glue them on, I'll do what Michael has suggested and do a quick flat sanding to kind of get them the same height. And then after that, I'll do a wet sanding, which will then round them over. So I'm trying to get them all the same. See if I can zoom in a little bit. Freaking glare. If I do that, so it's not direct. You can see here, it's kind of a bunch of tiny little pieces, and sometimes they go flying. That one went flying. I did see a tool on YouTube, but you can only like punch out one at a time, and it looks like it would have taken forever. But they're like, if you're being super anal and you want to be at like a specific scale size, then you would use that. But I'm not like that, so. See, some of these are really big. Actually, I'm going to throw these away because they're all way too big. I can tell right now. Let's see what happens if I don't use the tape. Let's see if they go flying. Hopefully they don't. Yep, they do. That one went pew! So I'll just record a little bit of this because this is very monotonous and boring. But again, this is something I've never done before, so it's a learning experience for me. So maybe what I'll do is I'll cut some and then try to glue some on. That way this video isn't like 2 hours long of me cutting these little tiny things. See, that's too big, I think. I think it's more important that they're the same size than anything. I did see a YouTube video where a guy was using white glue and doing little drops of white glue, and it looked really cool, but he had to do like 3 or 4 times to build it up because it shrinks as it dries. The effect looked really good. A nice little mushroom-sized rivet. But again, he had to do it 3 or 4 times, so I'm not sure which one's more time-consuming, this or the white glue method. Yeah, see, they go flying. You want that, because then you lose them. That one's too big. Alright, so I'm going to pause here and cut some more out and then we'll glue some on. Alright, so I have a bunch of rivets cut out here. They're all kind of the same size. We'll see. So now what we're going to do is we're going to glue some on. And I'm going to use some thick CA super glue. Let's see, I need a little scrap piece of something. use a little piece of scrap claw plate here. And I'm going to put a little, I don't want to put too much out because it's going to dry up on me. Put a little dab over there on the corner. So I got a little thick CA right there. And I'm going to pick one of these guys up. Try to. Ooh, they are small. Like that. Put in the CA. And let's see how this works. Sorry guys. This is hard with my Optivisor on. So let's sit there for a second. See if it wants to come off. Come on. Let's try it again. Sorry, I keep bumping the camera with my visor. I think what I may do. Okay. So there's one. It's really, really tall, but it's okay. Because I'm going to flat sand these. I think what I need to do. So these will come off easier. I'm going to put a little zip kicker on this panel. Like that. And it won't hurt your primer or anything. That way when I put it on there, the glue sets up pretty much instantaneously. And we're just going to try to get them evenly spaced. There we go. So this process is going to take a while, obviously. You gotta do on both sides of the seam. So, kind of like that. Oops, see that when I stabbed on the side. So the problem is I can't get close enough to see them. I keep bumping my... Here we go. Try to show you guys and see what I'm doing is tough. Try to make it as neat as possible, but you know. So this is going to take a while, but this is the idea. So I'm going to pause the video, and next time hopefully I'll have all this done. So, but it's going to take several hours, but that's the idea. So scribing the lines and the riveting. So actually I'll call this the end of this video, and the next video I'll show you after they're all done, sanding them down and kind of doing that step. But yeah, it's going to look cool. It's just a long process. So, but as always, thanks for watching. It's Matt Mrozek. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye. Okay, well, I thought I was done with that video, but after sending a quick photo to Master Fu, as a lot of people call Michael, he told me I was doing it all wrong. Not the cutting part, the gluing part. So I was using thick CA. He's like, well, that's going to be really hard to do. It's like, I used Tamiya extra thin cement. So I'm like, okay, I'll give that a shot. He's like, you can line them all up and then flood the area with the glue, and then they'll weld on, which is a stronger bond anyway. So I'm going to see if this will focus on here or not. It may want to focus on the background. So I got a bunch of little rivets here, and I've already done 2 lines, as you can see, right there. So I'm going to show you how this is done. It's not hard. Again, this isn't hard. It's just time consuming. So I'm going to keep my glue over here in case I spill it, because as you've seen many times, I'm a klutz. So basically, you just take your little rivet. The hardest part is really getting it to come off the knife. So I got my big clumsy hands here. I was trying to use a pair of tweezers, but they have these things carry a lot of static on them apparently. And you just line them up. It sounds easier said than done. And these are all different heights and stuff, but that's okay, because in the end they're going to be relatively the same height when I'm done. See, they're small. They want to stick to my hands and everything. It's like this, and I'm not really spacing wise. I'm just kind of guesstimating as far as what should look right. Yeah. This is the hard part right here, actually. Kind of getting it off the blade. I'm barely stabbing it, but just enough to pick it up, but then it sticks to your finger. So who knows how many of these I've got to put on? 1,000? It's getting there. So I'll do a few, and then I'll show you what the next step is, because like I said, this takes a while. But thanks to Master Fu for telling me to do it the right way. And to get it straightened up, basically all I did was on that first one, took a spare piece of sprue like this, and I just kind of did that, lined them up. At least so they're semi-straight. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this right quick. And then once they're kind of in place, simply take some thin, to me extra thin, you don't want a lot. You're just going to tap it. And it's going to, see those two kind of move together, so I'm going to separate them a little bit. Yeah, so with the CA you can't do this, and the glue disappears. So I'm just going to let it wick in there. Just like that. And then those are pretty much in place. So I repeat that a bazillion million times, and then the next step. So this is the end of this video, gluing the rivets on. The next one I'll show you sanding it and doing the next step. But as again, thanks for watching. This is Mrozek. Catch you guys next time.